let's kick this off. Welcome back to the Spotlight. My name's Tim Branyan. This is episode 3. This is episode 3 already. We're cruising. That's exciting. And today's guest, I have Alec Downing. Excited to jump into a conversation. We've done this before.
We did.
We've been here before. It wasn't official.
It was not.
It wasn't official. And I didn't have something in my throat at that point either, but I did now. We're back on track. I'm excited, man, to get into a conversation with you. I'm proud that I got to meet you last year. I think it was last year that we met at lunch.
Yeah.
Jordan hooked that up, and I got a chance to learn a little bit more about banking. And moreover than that, I got to learn a little bit more about the CEO program, your heart as a servant leader here in Kokomo. And I'm excited, man, to develop our relationship, continue that, keep seeing you at all these awesome events that we're having around town. But yeah, just to learn a little bit more about your story, take a deeper dive into this and spotlight you, Mr. Alec.
That's great. Yeah, I appreciate it. More than happy to talk about the bank a little bit, talk about Kokomo CEO. Obviously, passionate about that. Was in the first year of the program. Now I'm as a student, and now I'm on the board. And then any of the other great things that are going on here in Kokomo. More than happy to talk about any of it. So
heck yeah, man. So have you always lived here in Kokomo and here in Indiana?
Yeah. So I grew up in Greentown. Or just outside of Greentown. Went to Eastern, graduated there in 15, then went to Taylor University. So that was my pilgrimage away from home, was about 20 miles straight east of Howard County. And then
you drove there, you didn't walk there.
Correct,
right? Okay.
Yes. I rode the horse and buggy over there. And then lived in South Bend for a summer, interned with the South Bend Cubs up there, but then that's the farthest that I've lived away from home for more. And that was for 2 or 3 months. So yeah, always been in this area. After school, got an offer, at First Farmers. Started out in Converse at the headquarters there. There's basically Pizza King, Jefferson Street Barbecue, the post office, and the bank there in Converse. But I think we're the
good barbecue
largest.
Spot, by the way. Shout out Jefferson Street Barbecue.
Shout out Jefferson Street Barbecue. Get on this podcast. And yeah, so started out there, got a really good foundation, learning from Mike Murphy and a lot of the people over there, and then some needs bank-wise changed, and so I'm happy to be back in Howard County. I actually started on the CEO board when I was still over in Converse, so it's a little bit quicker of a drive to some of the chamber events and board meetings and that sort of thing. A couple more lunch options in downtown Kokomo than Converse, Indiana, but yes, the long-winded answer to your question, always been a Howard County boy.
It's awesome, man. And as describe a little bit about the CEO program. You mentioned that you're on the board. What does that role sort of consist of? And then moreover, give sort of a 30,000-foot view on what the CEO program is in general.
Yeah, so CEO stands for Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities. It is a program for high school juniors and seniors. Our mothership is what we call it. It's kind of a franchise model, is out of Effingham, Illinois. And about 20 years ago, or 25 years ago now, the founder of the program and some local business leaders realized that Effingham is really similar to Kokomo in a lot of ways, size-wise and distance to some larger cities. And they were realizing that after college, none of their best and brightest students were coming back to the area. A lot of them, after they would go off to college and then go to Chicago or St. Louis or Springfield or Champaign and go to some of the bigger regional cities, and there was the brain drain in their small town. So 11 or 12 years ago, there were some leaders around here with the vision to, I think it was at a banking conference. So long story short, there were some people that had a vision here in Kokomo to bring that to our community. Luckily enough, I've been able to be, like I said, a student in the class my senior year of high school. And kind of the mantra of at least Kokomo CEO has always been, I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. And that's kind of what entrepreneurship's all about, right? Is, there's not always a blueprint. There's maybe some best practices in some areas and definitely some mentors that you can learn from and that sort of thing. But it's kind of been the mantra of Kokomo CEO is, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. So today, I've got a couple stats here. So today, Kokomo CEO this is our 11th class that's going through this year. We now have 177 alumni that have gone through the program here in Kokomo. And then nationwide, the program has 74 different programs in 11 states that feed in from 350 different high schools. So that's primarily in the Midwest, a lot of Illinois, a lot of southern Minnesota, and then they have a couple different states in the Midwest. They've got some as far as Florida and Alabama, Utah, Kansas. So it's definitely something that's been growing, and kind of this, I feel like that's what education, at least around here, is kind of shifting towards, is those experiences and getting workforce development and that sort of thing. And it's a little, the pendulum always swings back and forth, right? I think it maybe swung a little too far towards, everybody always in the classroom, and now it's started swinging back towards the middle of, obviously there's some foundational things that these students need in the classroom, but also making some of these connections in the community and being able to, learn how to talk to people, learn some real life skills. That's really what one of the things that CEO is all about. Is learning how to make eye contact, how to shake hands, some of those soft skills of business that kids just don't learn. And
where would you? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're definitely hand-me-down skills, I think. Yeah. And if you're not in an environment where that's happening, or somebody's actively coaching or mentoring you or letting you know, they're going to go unknown and unseen. I think applied knowledge is power, and if there's nothing to see to apply, it makes it hard to harness that power.
Right.
So I love that you're doing that, and it's very evident, too. Just a shout-out to the board, everybody that makes the program happen. I was blown away. I remember the first time that I met some of these young kids. They're not normal in a good way.
Yeah.
In a very professional way. You shake their hands, and they do look in the eye. It almost throws you back a bit. It's like you're not used to it. But then also just their ideas and their belief. They have belief in themselves. And whether you're a little kid or a big kid like us, it's important to have belief in yourself. I think it's a catalyst to innovation. I think it's a catalyst to building anything, is just that you believe that it's possible for you, and you're capable, and you're enough to make it happen. You've been given these divine gifts, and you can apply those and make things happen. Oftentimes, again, whether we're young kids or big kids, we tell this, we sometimes can change the script in our heads and in our hearts. And a program like this that activates kids into chasing their dreams is one of the most American things.
Absolutely,
I think you could do. So as a vet, right, combat vet, I proudly salute and support what this is, and all those involved with it. Like, truly thanks, because it's impactful, and you get a chance to see that. Anybody that hasn't seen it, please do consider coming to events that they have and getting involved, whether it be through supporting monetarily, or it be just, again, attending or just being aware of what's happening in your backyard here.
And I can talk about some of the day-to-day of the class also. So CEO meets every day that Kokomo schools are in session, meets never in a classroom, always meets in local businesses, whether it's someplace like Vision Studio here today, going and doing either business visits or business professionals coming in to speak to the class on their areas of expertise, whether it's, personal finance or insurance. In another nice thing is the class can really help dictate their class experience based on what they need. I remember during my class, we went to IUK's, it was Economic Outlook breakfast at the time, and we were a little intimidated by that. We thought,
sure,
what are we supposed to do? What's the proper business meal etiquette, that sort of thing? So, we talked with our facilitator at the time, Morgan Young, shout out Morgan, and
Morgan's great.
We were like, how do we do this? Can we have, is there anything around here that teaches etiquette? So we went to the Crystal Tea Room and had a tea, like a formal tea for breakfast one morning, and learned about etiquette. And I still remember some of the things today of using your utensils outside in when there is a place setting for you and that sort of thing. So it's just, I don't know, getting these students these life experiences. Showing
would
them.
Would they let me into that now?
Probably, yeah, come on in.
I think I can benefit from that. I'm like the Neanderthal that puts his...
There's always room for one more. That's our that's my kind of personal motto. So, so getting these kids life experiences, getting them involved and engaged with the opportunities in our community, and being able to see, there's more than working in a school or a hospital or Chrysler here. There's a lot of small businesses and there's a lot of, medium businesses. There's doing great things and that have opportunities. Things like the bank. I don't think there's any kid in high school that thinks that they want to be a commercial loan officer when they grow up, unless they have a parent or family member that does it. Like, sure. That's not something. Have you ever heard a little boy dream about, hey, I want to be a lender when I grow up?
Never.
Okay,
Besides you,
exactly.
Alec.
Yeah. I didn't even. I mean, my uncle did it, and I still didn't even really consider it as a possibility, as a real possibility, until later on in college. But, yeah, and that's been the success of the program. I mean, we've had students still, move away. We have, we have students in Chicago. We have alumni of this program that have gone off to New York, and I was just hearing about Andrea Peterson, who I don't know that well, but works in investment banking, was in Chicago, now in New York, and I'm like, wow, that's a CEO kid. And then, you hear of like Joey Herlocker, who went off to Stanford and killed it out there, and then now is back in this community because he wants to serve his community.
Yeah.
And then, I'm back here and serving on boards and, doing the thing. And my job feels like a mini CEO every single day of,
right.
I get to go out and visit with businesses. I get to look at financials. I get to, talk through pain points with customers of, what does this look like? And sure. Asking good questions is a great skill that I learned in CEO that is incredible as a loan officer is, asking good questions and really trying to figure out, people's motivations and intentions and what exactly they're looking for. So,
wow, that's so helpful.
Yeah.
In a lot of different situations, personal and professional, I think, to ask questions. And to that front, I've noticed that as well, talking to my mentee. Mm-hmm. I've loved working with Kelton. And again, just a testament to what's being produced out of the program. So, you were in CEO as a student.
Yeah.
And, then you got into sort of the executive role, managing the board and helping out and whatnot. How much have you seen change from the time that you were in versus now?
Sure.
Describe that.
So we have we have had two new facilitators in my time on the board. So Morgan Young served for the first 5 or 6 years, and then Brandon Bishop has served for the last 4 years, and then Kelly Hopkins is great, and I think she's back there right now.
Let's say a bunch of really nice things about
Kelly Hopkins is phenomenal and is the current facilitator of the program. So that's one change is, seeing different strengths and personalities of each facilitator and how that strengthens the class in certain ways. I mean, I know Kelly's got the graphic design background, so, there's been some really higher quality, design type things that have come out of the class this year than in years past. And, just seeing different people's connections to different businesses. Kelly has a lot more of connections down in, Indy through the job that she has. And, Brandon had different connections than Morgan had. And so, in general, as you see the program mature, and, as you see people's board term limits term off and get some new people on the board and that sort of thing. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about CEO is there's kind of an outline for it, but there's not I don't know, this is probably a bad analogy. There's an outline for it. There's not an essay for it. There's not a hey, sentence by sentence, here's what we're going to do. There's some high points of, hey, here are the things that we want to hit throughout the year. But, each class looks different, and that's by design.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me of something. When I was in boot camp, my drill instructor used to always say flexibility is the key to air power. He was like a flight guy.
Okay.
And I didn't understand what he meant when he first said that.
Sure.
And I was probably a little nervous in boot camp at that time, a little fearful. Little culture shock there.
Yeah. I want to circle back to one thing you mentioned, Kelton. He's been, one of the great stories of this year's class, and he's grown a lot. We hear stories like this every single year. There was another student, I forget which one it was, but his parents, or his or her parents, came to the holiday party that CEO had at the end of the year, and parents after the first semester and then again at the end of the year, seeing their students grow from August to December and then August to May of standing up and walking around and shaking a bunch of business people's hands and, holding conversations and asking good questions. And we always get amazed parents every single year of, man, I can't believe that's where my kid like this kid is unrecognizable just from 3 or 4 months ago. And that, and I think that shows that, our students are adaptable, and as you stretch and grow them, they have a lot more opportunity for impact than, we give people credit for. At 17 and 18 years old, these kids are, about to put on a, conference on February, what is it, the 15th?
Let's get this
15th,
right.
19th. I need to look at that again, but it's a Saturday, so every one of those is Saturday. February 15th at the Hobson here in Kokomo. Great question on time. Kelly, time? 6 to 9. There we go. This is why we have the man behind the camera right
We can
here.
put that in the caption.
Perfect. Yeah. And
we'll double back on that just to be sure.
That link will come out. We can just auto dub over it. February 15th at 6 p.m.
There we go.
But we'll get out a link to that. Tickets should be available, I think, next week as we're recording this. I don't know when this will get posted, but seeing it, we always get amazed attendees at these events every year that, oh man, high school kids put this on? Mm-hmm. Okay, but like who actually is behind this? And we say, no, there were 16 to 18 high school students that did everything for this event. Obviously, we have some guardrails. We help,
Sure.
push and prod along as things go. But every team has that. And it's great to see. I could tell you stories upon stories of, Eli Johnson was in the class a couple years ago, Margaret Johnson's son from the Wellness Garden.
Yep.
And it's cool to see her, and she'll admit this too, of how her business grew during the year as Eli went through CEO, because they were able to bounce ideas off of each other. And in her business, she was able to implement some things that he was learning in CEO.
Awesome.
And then now he's down at Rose Holman and has helped start up has been on the steering committee for a program that's going in that area. Mm-hmm. So that's been really neat. Stories like that. I could tell you stories upon stories of students that have come back or have done, great things. We have Zach Watterson, who interned in the White House. He was in my class and interned in the White House. We've got, again, story after story of, our Kokomo CEO students that are doing great things. And I'd like to think that at least part of it's attributed to, going through the program. So
Right. Well, I'm going to give you your flowers too, man. You're not a common fella here.
Thank you.
As well. What you're able to do, how you support, how you serve, how you come alongside the kids and create connectivity, opportunity. Poking and prodding into the right direction is that's a coach. Mm-hmm. And you've developed that skill over the years too, and it's cool to it's definitely cool to see and to know. I've been to the CEO summit and I've seen the guest speakers, and knowing that it's all put on by students is exciting. Mm-hmm. Because it's like somebody had to call that guy or gal's booking agent, somebody had to create these lanyards, somebody had to create the graphics, and somebody had to call for the catering and the coffee and the ice and everything that goes into it. Mm-hmm. And the fun part about the program, just thinking about this, it's like the thing that will build skill is not, having somebody just follow exact instructions. It's like grading somebody's ability to do exactly what you tell them to do. That's one way that, you need to be able to follow through. But as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to solve problems, right? Hurdle obstacles and adapt. And giving somebody a project and saying, well, here you go, good luck, and feeling that stress and feeling a little bit of the anxiety that comes with that, and hurdling the obstacles when somebody doesn't answer the phone or an email falls short, or something's out of budget or something's out of whack. Like, going through that is really how you develop grit and skill. And then I think what I'm seeing too is just a level of belief, and that comes from stacking evidence, right? Belief is really just the if you've stacked enough evidence that you can achieve things. So I just love that the CEO program is all about giving them these obstacles or these high-level challenges and then saying, ready, set, go.
And I think tying right along with that, growing optimism in these students too. There's so much in this generation of us and younger. There's so much nihilism in so many different areas of life. You see that with, with sports gambling and meme stocks, there's this like economic nihilism of like the system doesn't work for me. I need to hit this 10 bagger to make it rich, or like I'm never gonna be able to succeed. You see religion rates declining among younger people, and I think I don't know, through this program, I would like to think that we're doing our small part and kind of helping, like you said, grow some optimism around these things, and realizing that, there is not that the system is perfect, but there is a spot, in the system for you, and you can be, a part of this and a part of, like you said, kind of the ethos of America. Entrepreneurship is the ethos of America, and,
Yes.
Whether it's, 50, 75% of people you meet on the street, I feel like have a side thing or something that has grown into what they do, and it's not like that anywhere else in the world. And being able to participate that and not just be at the whims of another company that cuts you a paycheck every single month is huge. And I don't know. Yeah, I'd like to think we're doing our own small part of trying to help
Certainly.
help that optimism.
Certainly are. And I 100% agree and believe that. I mean, when you have something that you're working towards, as a man, when I have a project, when I have something that I can build and invest in and work on that serves the market or serves other people or serves a specific group, there's a level of fulfillment that comes with that, and definitely a level of optimism in the process of creating something. And that energy is it's contagious. So it only takes a few. And what happens is we put a few of those energetic guys that like to build stuff or they're working on problems that have a, sort of a collaborative goal, then that energy starts to really, cross paths. And what happens with that is amazing things are built. And it's, it's happening now. They're building this event. They are brainstorming ideas. I mean, Kelton and I just spent about an hour talking about an idea, an idea that if it's built could potentially revolutionize the way that a university connects companies to students.
Okay.
And I'm going to leave it like that because we don't have an NDA.
Sure.
And I know he's so that's kind of a fun dream project that we were thinking about. And it's just fun to see sort of the fruits of this class kind of come to fruition upstairs with the questions he was asking or where his mind was going, talking about this idea that could be helpful and impactful and profitable. And, if you don't have that in your life and you're just, sort of in this cyclic routine and you're not working on something or building something, or moreover, I think, leveraging your gifts as a form of stewardship, you're going to feel a little bit of doom and gloom because you're not in alignment with your purpose and your gifts. I think we're all given these ordained gifts, and step one is to recognize those, be grateful for those, and then enlist them in the market. So this program, I look at it like a catalyst to do just that. And it's a complex thing, but I think you guys are right on target with how it's being done. Talk a little bit about, so when you were in, did you guys have a project like outside of the event? What was so you set up a booth, right?
Yes. Yeah, I can talk about kind of the structure of the program. So during the first semester of the class, there are a lot of business visits and people coming in to visit the class. There's 180 school days, around 30 or 40 business visits, and around 30 or 40 different businesses that come into class. And then there's also what are called home-based days, that the students will work on, some of their events that are coming up so that kind of the crowning jewel of the first semester is the class has to put on a class business. And then any money that is made from that is directly put into the students' pockets to seed their own business, their own entrepreneurial, endeavor in the second semester. Awesome. And then the recap of that second semester, usually late April, early May, is a trade show for all these students to highlight their businesses. And the goal is, with that money that the students were given, that, either they're able to make that back and pay back into the program, or, be able to roll that into something bigger and better, as they go off to college. So, each of the last handful of years, the COVID year kind of threw things off, obviously, but outside of that, the last handful of years have been able to become investors in the Kokomo CEO program for years at a time. So I mean, even back to the class of 21 and 22 and 23 and 24 are all still investors in the class from back when they made those profits from their class businesses. So that's really neat to see. That these students, have foregone some of the money that could have come to them and said, no, we want to invest back in this. This program impacted us enough that we want to give back to the program as a class. And if you want to become an investor, the CEO program has investors at $1,000 a year, and that helps. We take money from investors, from local small businesses that believe in the mission of CEO and believe in the mission of getting these. And you have a great first look at, hey, in 4 years when these students are done with college, or maybe during college, they can come back and intern with you, and you get kind of the inside track of that, of, hey, come out and visit our business, see what we do, make some connections, and you can get some really, really good talent to come back here to Howard County. But we ask for $1,000 a year, and that helps fund, that is what funds the program. We don't take, the schools have voluntarily given us the tuition money that they get from the state for each student, but between that and then investments from the local business community is how we are funded and how we pay, Kelly as a facilitator, and how we pay for some of the seed money for some of the events that we do and that sort of thing. So as the class operates, it kind of has its own budget as they start off the year with the lanyard project and get some funds from that help seed some of the initial expenses for their class business. And then there's also the kind of, I don't know, not the corporate account, but there's the board account that, helps fund some of the behind the scenes, not quite as sexy things of everything that we see of CEO. So there's my pitch. If you're watching this, please consider KokomoCEO.com of becoming an investor in the program at $1,000 a year. So we've had a great group of investors, but we're always looking for more and we've considered expanding the class to a morning and an afternoon session to try to impact more kids. We've considered, also trying to figure out and pilot, a program to help make something like this work at a middle school level, so that on a smaller scale, but at a middle school level, so they're not, they see there is a different way from high school. One thing that we get every year is students say, man, I'm so glad in CEO I don't have to raise my hand to use the restroom. Like, when's the last time in a business meeting you were like, all right, I got to leave. Is it okay if I use the restroom real fast? Like, wow. You don't do it. But that's just part of what school has, and I think rightfully so in a lot of ways. I mean, you've got to, education's a different breed of but I don't know. It's cool to give these kids real life experiences and see how they respond. And we hope it's in the most positive way. So
what if I'm, I want to invest. I want to give $1,000 or whatever. I want to give $10,000. I love supporting entrepreneurship. I'm that guy. But I also am a guy that has a company, or I'm a guy that I believe I could help impact some of the kids. I want to get involved that way. What's that look like? How does somebody get in touch with you if they're interested in, not only that sponsorship, but maybe get involved in another sort of like service-oriented way?
Sure, yeah. So, Kelly's email is facilitator@KokomoCEO.com. And you can reach out. We'll always love to have more and new business visits, or it is an open classroom also. Anybody can show up at any time. You could go on some of these business visits with the students, or you could interact with them in their home bases or at the home base, or you could come in and talk about, something more formal and give your area of expertise. Every year First Farmers has come in and done a talk on banking, and it looks a little different from Community First's talk on banking. There's a lot of high points that probably get hit on the same way, but, just different personalities and different banks and different structures. So, even if you've got, we have multiple insurance agents that'll come out and speak to the class. I know have you guys had a formal presentation to the class, or has it been?
We did a talk on business planning. And we gave some software access. We used LivePlan,
sure.
So we were able to go through just at a high level, right?
Yeah.
What is a business plan? I call it a vision plan. Like, what is a vision plan? Is it moldable? How do you go about sort of structuring it, laying it out? And we would love to do, more. Anywhere we can be a service as the SBDC or our support org.
And some of those other ESOs that I know you talked with Jordan about a couple of podcasts ago. We have the Chamber of Commerce come in, and Jacada gives a presentation, and we're at Inventrek as a home base for part of the year, and so it's cool to see the Kokomo business community kind of come together. And I'd like to think, like we talked about earlier, I think off camera of some of the growth that's happened in the chamber and through Jacada and that sort of thing. And Courtney and Maddie have been a huge part of that. But I'd like to think that in its own small way, Kokomo CEO has helped have an impact on that as well in bringing businesses together.
I agree. I agree 100%. When you say ESO, I know a lot of times there's so many acronyms, I'm sure, in banking as well as the state stuff. ESO.
I'm going to be honest, I learned ESO on your podcast. So
okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I'll describe. ESO is an entrepreneur support organization. And that's exactly what the Kokomo CEO program is. It's exactly what Greater Kokomo Economic Development Alliance is, the Chamber of Commerce, the co-working space at Inventrek, First Farmers Bank. We proudly work together, supporting entrepreneurs and filling gaps where we can be of value to those existing sort of support orgs. Talk a little bit about, let's talk about the bank for a minute, First Farmers, and how you guys are, like as an ESO, how we've worked together and how you guys are supporting entrepreneurs. Because maybe, some people are like me and they're somewhat ignorant when it comes to, asking for money, using the service of money, and just having sort of that bank relationship. I'm not somebody that ever really did, right? So maybe give a high level of how First Farmers is an ESO.
Sure. So I'll give kind of that, like you said, the high level picture of. So First Farmers started in 1885 as the Mark Tully Exchange Bank in Converse, Indiana. And Indiana was late to relax some of the banking regulations, so you could only have bank branches in one county for a very, very long time, a lot later than some of the other states. Ohio was one of the first ones to open that up, and that's why you see some of the bigger regional banks come out of Ohio a lot of the time. So that's just an interesting, nerdy banking side bit. It started in 1885, have grown a lot, definitely over the last 40 years, and then a lot more even over the last 5 to 10 years. We have 35 to 40 branches across Indiana and eastern Illinois. So we range from Marion all the way over to Hoopeston, Illinois, just west of Lafayette, all the way down to Terre Haute. And then all the way up to Culver, Knox, North Judson. We have a trio of branches up there. And then really excited, we just opened a branch in Carmel not that long ago, and then are moving that into a new building that's being constructed right now, and then are in the process also of opening a branch in Lebanon. So that gives you a little bit of the, of the scythe shape of branches, I guess, of that First Farmers has. And
I was going to say croissant, but
yeah, croissant shaped. I love that. Yeah. We're a croissant-shaped bank, and so we're a $3 billion institution. We can do up to $35 or $40 million of loans to a single person, but typically we our board limits that even a little bit more than what our legal limit is. So a little less than that's the sweet spot for the large loans. But great partnerships with all of our local chambers of commerce in each of our markets, and with organizations like the ISBDC. I know clients all the time we're sending your way of maybe it's something that's not quite to the bank loan stage yet, but it's something that we can send to you guys and say, hey, are there grants available? Are there business plan opportunities available? Talking about like the pitch competitions that the chamber has and that sort of thing, and just being able to, be supportive in that way. Because for me, as somebody that's a people person and a salesperson, I hate having to tell people no. But, on one level, no is sometimes the best thing that people can hear. But also, if you can give it a no, but, not right now, this in this stage, we cannot do a loan, but maybe you can take some of these steps to go visit with a small business development center. Maybe you can, go, save up money for another 6 months to a year. Maybe you can pay down some of this other debt.
Sure.
And then we can maybe look at it again in 6 months to a year. So
get some clarity. I hate to say it, but we love to be the butt.
Sure.
We do. We like to fill that gap. And, with our banking partners all across the state, that relationship's a little different. It is common that we're very helpful for those that aren't quite ready. Mm-hmm. And we love that. Send them our way because we will increase the likelihood of their readiness to take on that capital. It's important to have a plan, right? And we know that at the SBDC. We know that as entrepreneurs. It's important to have a plan, especially before you start asking for funds. And we're direct and loving in that conversation. It's just real. And sometimes, that's probably the best thing sometimes is to be told no. But I think moreover than that, if you're told no but let's get into the gym. Let's go work this out. Yeah. Let's go figure out where there's opportunity, where we can start growing and develop something. And we enjoy that, especially when the person has the right characteristics, when the person has the right grit and the desire. That's all we need. If you don't have to have any sort of other special ingredients in that as an entrepreneur. You have to have some optimism.
Absolutely.
You have to have some stick-to-itivism. Mm-hmm. That's a word I just made up on this show as well. And then you have to be willing. You got to be willing and ready to put in the work. There's no such thing as something for nothing, right? I think we can all agree with that. And if you want a six-pack, you got to do the crunches.
Right. Same
thing's true in business. And again, we'll have those loving conversations to increase the likelihood. And to be brutally honest, there's some people that it's not for them at all. And sometimes they can be directed into a different route. And it's good, I hope, to have people that will be real with you in your life. And find the thing that ultimately you're going to enjoy. Mm-hmm. This business ownership and entrepreneurialism really isn't for everyone. But it's a great way to sort of kind of figure out your strengths and decide where you want to go. So we love working with banks. We also love working with chambers of commerce and any sort of organization that's working vertically with entrepreneurs. And our goal always is to figure out, okay, well, where do we fit in? Where can we be of value to you? How do we best serve your people? If you do send people our way, what's the ROI look like for you and your establishment? Mm-hmm. And that's my job as the coordination manager, is to build those relationships with ESOs, find out truly what's a great ROI look like, figure out some tracking, how we know who came from them, to send them back when it's time, when and if it's time. And that creates a lot of opportunity for the community. Then it also creates a lot of opportunity for us to hit our metrics and do what we need to do, and then deploy those tax dollars ultimately well, instead of it people falling through the gaps, I think. And to the point of all our support organizations around here, Courtney and Maddie, they've done a terrific job. We were talking about this off camera, that I always see them moving, hustling and moving stuff. Yep. They always have packages, and they're going to an event, or they're highlighting an entrepreneur, or they're setting up cameras to do these different engagement meetings. And the results of what they're doing is creating economy. It's creating belief. It's creating economic development. And I was saying this earlier off camera. I want to say it on camera. I hope that anybody that's in an ESO role, like you and like Courtney and like Lori, and everyone that's in these support roles, that they pause and just realize that what they do matters. And salute to them for encouraging somebody's beliefs and dreams. Absolutely. And pursuing that. And that same thing goes to you in the CEO program. How does somebody reach out to you directly if they want to connect with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm, my direct line at the bank is 765-391-1769, alec.downing@ffbt.com. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to chat, even if it's just you want to, start a relationship with a bank and with a local bank. And I'll give my pitch for local bank here real fast of, basically once you get to a certain size loan, us and Community First are the two banks that are actually making loans in this community. A lot of the larger institutions have pulled out their lending dollars from this community, have pulled out sponsorship dollars from this community. that's a part that I love about working at First Farmers, and I'm sure people at Community First would say the same thing. Of when I walk around and I introduce myself to somebody for the first time, and I say I'm with First Farmers, more often than not, I'll hear, "Man, you guys are everywhere." We are, we have local decisions, local sponsorship dollars that go to, that go to the Little League, that go to sponsor the soccer team, that go to, all of these little things that all build up and add up to, being genuine members of our community. It's all local decision making. It's all, people that know the pulse of the community and what's going on around here. We see you at church. We see you on the sports fields. We see you, at lunch. Like, it's not some distant, removed, big bank feel. I mean, as we have grown, that's one thing I've really appreciated, that we've been able to retain that, small bank feel of, if you want to come in and talk, more than happy to, even if it's not about, something loan related. Come in, talk to me about banking. More than happy to get you. If it's not something that I can help with, we can get you connected with somebody else on the team that can help, or get supported and sent to a different organization that might be able to help with something. So, I mean, yeah, would love for anybody to reach out if they have banking questions, or, I mean, that's the nerdiest thing possible. Nobody's going to have banking questions. But, if you want to reach out, if you think I sound fun or whatever, then, yeah, let's grab coffee or lunch or something like that, and we can make something happen.
I'll double down on that. If you are an entrepreneur and you believe that it's important to get in the way of opportunity, I would highly recommend meeting connected people like Alec. And just developing that relationship, if nothing else, if not with a bank, just to understand the bank. If you're, if it's foreign to you, like it was for me, have a conversation, go to lunch, and learn about the things that you don't know. So maybe down the road, if it becomes applicable, you're better equipped for that. Or if you hear a conversation, maybe it's internal at your family. You can never go wrong learning new things. And I don't think you can ever go wrong being super cool with people. And Alex is a super cool guy.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad, man, that we were able to do this. Huge shout out to Vision Studio for enabling this. They are an ESO organization that we're super proud to be partnered with, because, again, they are supporting entrepreneurs and creatives here in the Midwest of Kokomo, Indiana.
We want to thank you, too.
Yeah. Shout out to Ahmad behind this space station back here.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to kill the ending that you're setting up here, but to Ahmad, the man behind the camera, do you have any gaps that we need filled, or any questions that you have about CEO or banking or anything like that you think we missed?
No, I was following along. It's all sounded good. I actually know Taylor, and obviously I know you.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, good to see you.
And
you're good.
The mailman.
Shout out
just
Robert
came
Hatchett.
Man,
we got to throw that in there for sure. I'll tag him.
100%.
Me and Robert grew up together playing soccer.
Did you?
One of the best goalies. You guys know
Really?
Robert? Hey, shout out Robert Hatchett.
There we go.
See you.
Making connections
came
are
by, they called me. They're like, "Are you guys open? You guys are never open." I'm like, "You're probably going to the wrong door." So now he's been coming over here almost
You got to
every
meet
other
him.
day.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
If you haven't had a chance to connect with him.
Yeah, we talked for just a quick second.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I actually know you. I know Taylor. So I was like, you know what? I potentially want to pull out a loan to make this better.
Sure.
So I was like, I need to go to a bank, and like you said, it's either you or, well, you said Community First. I went to a credit union, didn't even ask a question as far as like, hey, do you guys do business loans or whatever?
Sure.
I asked it at the very end. They said, no, we only do personal. I'm like, why the heck did I even open up a bank account here? So I went straight over to First Farmers, got me in and out, and I'm good.
great.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, one thing I did and said at the end last time, and I don't want to put you guys off guard, but a couple of podcasts I listened to at the end to try to get into people's personal lives a little bit of what have you been like, what have you been reading recently, what have you been watching, what have you been, what's been occupying your headspace outside of work and that sort of thing. And I can go first if you guys feel like you need a second to. So,
You got it.
all right, Apple TV does sci-fi so well, and so season 2 of Severance is just dropped this morning. So very excited for that.
I've been seeing a lot of that.
My brother is, he's been over a lot at our house recently, and he's been catching up on season 1, and then season 2 of Silo just ended. So those are 2 great shows that I've been on recently. Love a couple different podcasts as well. I listen to some financial advisors on Ritholtz Wealth Management, or from them. They have a couple different podcasts, and it's always just interesting hearing people's different takes on the economy and what's going on, and they're a lot of fun too. They're like classic New York, like Long Island guys, and it's like they have an awesome time with it. And then reading wise, I'm kind of going through the book of Acts this month in the Bible, and so that's been fun to kind of read that with purpose and reread it and kind of meditate on it. I've heard the Bible described more recently as ancient meditation literature, and not reading it with, that's revolutionized my faith life, is not reading it through as a way to check a box off a list, but as a way to, sit and reflect and read and reread and meditate over things and think about, how this impacts my life, and thinking about, the Bible in its original context in, Acts, in that Second Temple Judaism period of right after the death of Jesus, and thinking about, I don't know, did these, Jewish people that were, believers in Jesus, did they think they were starting a new religion? Like,
right.
Did they think of themselves as Christians, or was it like Jews that were following the rabbi Jesus and following his way? And, kind of reframing it through that has been really interesting, reading through Acts in that way, of kind of an extension of them being learners of the rabbi, and not, hey, we're starting this new religion, we want to get people on board, right, and, have a fire escape for everybody. And, so I don't know. That's kind of the things that I've been reading, listening, watching, that sort of thing.
I love that, as you're reading through and meditating on it, that you're thinking about the history of it too. I think I don't know if that's common with some folks to really, at least it wasn't for me until I heard it the first time. Somebody they're sort of explained, back in this time, this was what actually was happening. And I was like, oh man, I've always just like made it relevant to this day, to me, like selfishly making it be like me, instead of just like going into actually what was going on historically and at that time. So it's always cool to listen to others' thoughts and interpretations as they're reading and consuming the word. And
that's the beauty about the Bible to me, is that it can speak so many different ways to different people, depending on the what they're going through in life, and what context wise, what they're going through, what they're learning in other areas that are all kind of coming together through that. So it's
thank God for that.
God works in funny ways. And,
truly. I mean, I can go next. I have been playing a video game with my son called Pixel Strike, and I haven't really watched. If I watch TV, or I really don't watch any TV. I'm typically watching like YouTube. Like I research stuff. I like to know how things work, and when there's new tech, or when there's new innovations in different software, or things come out, I like to better understand them. So Google's new quantum computing chip is very interesting to me. So interesting that I wrote a blog about it.
I saw that on your LinkedIn. I need to click in and read it.
It's interesting and revolutionary. It'll change the way we do security. It'll change the way that we interpret the weather. It'll change the way that we predict illnesses. It will change every industry, and it's happening very fast. And how it works, if you're super nerdy and you like to, if you want to understand like quantum entanglement and how it's processing data, it's fascinating to me. I don't know how many other people would probably fall asleep to it. Maybe you guys would enjoy it. And then I start wondering, like, who made this? Who were those guys? Like, I would love to interview them and just get if they're capable of, sort of explaining it to a smooth brain like me, right? Like, how does this work, and where did it all start from, and what is it? How did we arrive here at this machine that can process information millions of times faster than anything that's ever been built? The processing chip is called Willow. If somebody's interested in like researching it, like me, that's the type of stuff that I watch. If I'm watching a show, it's typically like releases like that, and digging into how to do things and tech, software. I like that stuff. I think it's fascinating.
Oh, absolutely.
But as far as like when I'm just trying to chill and hang out, I'll get on, Discord with some of my military buddies.
Nice.
And I've got a 6-year-old son, Caden, whom we play games together now. It's kind of a way that we bond. We'll play balloons, that little popping game. He plays a little defense game. He flies around this little ship. And then Pixel Strike is like Roblox with paintball guns.
Interesting.
And it's like Call of Duty theme. Obviously no core or anything like that. And we jam out. We get on there and we're dishing out wins.
That's so much fun.
All day long. We're playing against other probably 10-year-olds.
Sure.
And I used to be a Call of Duty player. I was pretty good. So I get on there and it's like it inflates my ego because I'm able to get a good KD ratio.
That's fun.
That's what we've been doing. And then as far as books that I'm reading, I can't even think of the last. I need to dig into. I've been doing a lot of watching and listening. Maybe like blog reading, but not like a book.
Well, that's the way I feel like a lot of podcasts are nowadays, or at least a lot that I've heard of, is authors going around and pitching their books, and they give a lot of the big overarching themes in a couple hours on a podcast that you would have gotten in 10 hours from actually reading the book. So
Does it increase the value? Like, that's my thought. Like, is there a world where books are different in a few years? Like, if we can get what the good was, does it? You know what I mean? Is it still valuable? The same?
I think, kind of like we were talking with other things earlier. My opinion is that people just engage with different things in different ways. I mean, you can learn something from a podcast that maybe someone might learn better from a book, and I think you learn about it in a different way as you're going through experiences that you can relate back to this, or as you're, maybe journaling about things or writing down, here are some of the takeaways. I think all of it just, I think it hits in different ways. I don't know if I would personally think about it as like good and bad ways to consume things, but I think it's just different based on person.
I think how you show up matters too. Like definitely for me, if I show up and I'm feeling like a scholastic weapon, and I'm like locked in, and I'm focused, and there's no distractions, and I'm intending on underlying things, and I'm in the school zone, the educational sort of growth zone. That's good for me to kind of remember right now as we're talking through this, because I think sometimes I kind of waffle.
Yes.
I'll be like, okay, I'm going to go through the motions of this, but I'm not like ready for the gym.
Sure.
Like how you show up matters. Well, what about you, Ahmad? What do you got going on?
Man, I guess the past couple months, I'll start off with what I've been watching.
Okay.
I watched a lot of college football because, of course, IU did really good this year. But I just kind of got sportsed out, went to a lot of games. I'm like, okay, I just got to turn the TV off. Yeah. No pun intended to Kendrick Lamar. But besides that, I haven't watched anything. I just took a break from the TV. I guess I have been watching podcasts or listening to podcasts. And I'm with you, Tim, when you say if I'm in a class setting, if I don't care about something, it's so hard for me to focus. Mm-hmm. But if I turn on a podcast or listen to something and I'm engaged in it, I retain so much information. And it's like the same thing as if I'm doing a problem and I'm writing it out or the teacher's explaining it, if I actually physically do it, I retain it better too. Right. So I've been watching a lot right now. Is I'm kind of in that stage of my business where it's time to scale. Mm-hmm. I've been great sources like you, and I have a friend that's one of my mom's friend, and he's been talking to me about just scaling and leveraging other people's money. Mm-hmm. Don't use your own. When I started Vision Studio, everything you see in here is paid for. I don't owe anything, no debts or anything.
I know a lender that can help with that.
Yeah, I know that's where I'm at. It's how do I now successfully start to build a team where I can pay people? And I've been learning about that. The people you hire in your first step should be people that are making you money. Mm-hmm. So it's just been a lot of how can I take my business to the next level. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, awesome. You've been locked in, man. It's been cool to see you. Even early this morning, before we had the meeting, you're the first one here. Yeah. And you're unlocking and you're prepping this area and you're working collaboratively with other organizations in there. It's just such a good idea as a business owner, just to start serving others and get vertical and expose people to what this is. And like literally we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
And it's creating awareness. And, you know, eventually, and I'm seeing this happen now. Hopefully I can say this and it's all right. Like people are starting to opt into your offer.
Yeah.
And I hope eventually, and I think it will eventually, like there's going to be a waiting list. And it's like if people aren't urgent about like getting in and sharing their news and getting like locked in with you now, they're going to miss out.
And
like,
that's kind of the conversation. That's the conversation we had earlier too, is that I spent